with new business. First up, I have public safety.
Good evening. I just have one item. It's respectfully request approval of consultant contract for James Love to serve as our public information officer for the police department at a rate of $9.53 per month pursuant to the attached job description that's in your packet. Just as a note, Jim will serve as our chaplain as well as our public information officer, and he's on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we've tested that. It does come out, so his help is invaluable.
So what was the motivation for kind of codifying this formally?
What allows me to have a little more control, call him out when I need him, have him in the meetings with us and make sure he understands our mission and our message that we want to put out. And again, he's putting a ton of hours, and this didn't come from him, and it just seemed like it was a fair thing to do.
Okay. Make a motion to approve.
Second. Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Good evening. I've got 3 action items for the board to consider tonight. The first one being a asked authorization for part-time pay rate change for firefighter EMT Andy Meyer to the firefighter EMT fire apparatus operator position at a rate of $14.72 effective April 26, 2015.
Motion to approve.
Second. Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Okay, second item is authorization to hire Albert Lawson for seasonal position of fire hydrant maintenance worker. His hourly rate of pay will be $9.50, effective start date Sunday, May 10th, 2015.
Motion to approve.
Second. Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Thank you. And the last item is authorization to accept a monetary donation in the amount of $500 from Miss Patricia Boehm of 10 Eland Court, Fairfield, Ohio, in appreciation for emergency medical services provided to her brother who resided in the 8200 block of Jackie's Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Administration.
Yes, Ms. Reinhardt, members of the board, I have a few action items here. The first item is approval of fund transfers to handle our debt repayment for 2015. Those transfers will be from the general fund to the respective debt service funds as listed in your agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Second item is approval of appropriations for the Kroger TIF fund. You'll notice in the packet here I've listed original and supplemental. The UAN system, once you establish the original appropriation, you can't modify an original unless you go through a supplemental process. So as we've been working our way through this closing, it was necessary to increase the appropriation after making the original. So I wanted to make sure I had an audit trail for the original and the supplemental. So at this point, I'm asking for approval of supplemental or approval of appropriations in total of $3,435,930.26. That's possible. It could change again. The closing has now been moved back another month. So it could change slightly again. If so, it'll come back to you in a future meeting as a supplemental appropriation.
What is this 100,000 increment attributed to?
Well, it had to do with, there's several transactions. We've got the bond counsel, we've got the school district attorney, we have our attorney, we have our financial advisor, the bond underwriter. It was just, it's a culmination of fees associated with the transaction.
Just weren't captured in.
Plus the $2,050,000 that's going out to acquire the land. And we're also, there's some fees associated with the land acquisition.
Okay.
So it's all associated with the, yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Peters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
The next item is to request approval to purchase new copy machines from ProSource at a total cost of $43,830. We've been having some challenges with our copy machines throughout the township. They're, I think in most cases, at least 5 years old in the technology. We've had our township copier here at the administration building went down for a day and a half here recently, which really caused a backload. One of my goals is to reduce the amount of color copy technology we have in the field. So we've identified 3 locations that would have access to color. The Public Works Department on the Hill, which is a combination of Public Works and Public Safety, the administration that shares with zoning and training, and the Police Department because of their accident reports. All the firehouses, the community center will all be converted to smaller black and white units so that we can save on the per copy cost. The prior copy technology, with the exception of one unit that's coming off of lease August 1st, is paid for, and we're paying a per copy cost for that technology. This proposal is not to lease the equipment, but to outright purchase the equipment. We expect a life expectancy of at least 5 years, but we've been able to cut our maintenance cost almost in half, both in color and black and white. ProSource was not the low bid. We're not required to take the low bid. They were $471 higher than the lowest bid, but the company that had the low bid, we've had some issues with in-house, and that was one of the reasons we chose not to pursue them. So my recommendation would be to go with ProSource at $43,830.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Ritter?
Aye.
Next item is a recommended approval of amended resolutions for the issuance of bonds. This was not included online or in your packet. I just got this resolution either late yesterday or early today. This basically is extending the $4 million authorization that you granted last month another 30 days till May 31st, 2015. It allows Kroger's to continue their due diligence and the finalizing of some leases with some of the property involved in the transaction. So this is just legislation authorizing us one additional month to close on the bonds.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Ritter?
Aye.
My next item is a recommendation to transfer a parcel of land to our Colerain Township CIC. This land, Frank, you can probably explain it better than I can. It's vacant land, and we have a company, Arlington Cemetery, is interested in acquiring this land for $10,000. You want to speak to the land?
Sure. It's at the cul-de-sac of Sunlight Drive, behind the railing. It's been an area where we've experienced loitering, dumping. It was donated to us years ago, and there's really no use for it. Arlington has cleaned up that entire area down from this, and they'd really like to acquire this as well. And I think it's a great reuse for the property, and it'll clean it up and make it a safer place for the community.
Motion to approve.
Second. Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Ritter?
Aye.
My final item tonight is just an informational item. I put in the packet a number of proposed changes to our existing personnel policy manual. I'd ask that you review those. Basically, it's just putting in to our policy the current practice that we have. In most cases, it spells out our benefit packages for non-union employees. Oftentimes, when we hire non-union employees, they'll wonder what the benefit package is. By being able to produce a copy of the policy manual as part of that hiring process spells everything out. There are some proposed changes in the vacation carryover that allows for an additional years of accumulation to be carried forward. However, at no time will we allow more than 40 hours plus the current year be paid out. So we're still restricting long-term liability on severance as associated with vacation, but it does allow for the carryover in the event that we're not able, a leadership position is not able to exhaust their vacation to the extent that would be necessary by the policy. So if you have any questions regarding the proposed changes, you can get back with me. I'll put these on the May 12th agenda for approval.
Mr. Rowan, before we're finished with your portion, Mrs. Harlow announced her initiative to put our checkbook online.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief update on where that stands with the state treasurer?
Absolutely. I contacted the office twice, right after the meeting and then again about a week and a half ago, and they anticipate that action is going to happen sometime in June or July. There was actually an organization, I don't know if it's called openohio.gov or something of that nature, that will be reaching out to us for that implementation phase. It's still our desire and hopes that they'll be able to integrate it electronically from the state auditor's office, but if it's a matter of us producing electronic files, that's something we can do to be able to participate. So we are full go-ahead on that proposal. We're just waiting for them to get back with us.
Thank you.
At this point in time, we're going to turn it over to Public Safety. We have two presentations this evening. The first on the Police and Fire Strategic Plan, and then the second will be on a fire apparatus capital request. Both information this evening. Action will not be requested regarding the fire apparatus this evening.
Thank you. The Chiefs and I are excited to be in front of you this evening to present the 2015-2020 Fire Department. So how did we get to tonight? Well, we gathered on January 24th of 2015. We invited business leaders, we invited leaders of the community, residents, and other members from the community, as well as a large number of employees. We gathered 77 people on that 24th to sit down and discuss through the 6 goals that each department had identified that they wanted to move forward with their organization. So we introduced the departments to the whole group. We encouraged their cooperation, a lot of great discussion within the groups. They talked through the goals and the visions and the tactics to move forward. And the chiefs gathered all the data that was brought to the table that day and went back to work with their groups and really worked hard to see what was manageable, what could we accomplish, what the needs were within our community, define the difference between these are needs and these are desires, and we tried to determine what was affordable and realistic as we move forward with these strategic plans. And each one of the chiefs, we've been working since that 24th of January. We meet on every Monday and discuss this, and we kind of worked through this and got this to a point we were comfortable presenting a final document to the board. And what you're going to hear tonight from the chiefs is just an overview of the 6 goals that each one of them had and some of the tactics that go along with that. We then sent out the completed plan that we're presenting tonight to all 77 of the attendees, along with all of our police officers and our firefighter, as well as the board, and asked for feedback. And we're going to encourage an annual gathering of a smaller group of about 10 to 15, 18 folks that sit down and look at the progress that we made over the previous year. What are the goals that we had set through the 2015 meeting are still attainable? What do we need to achieve that? What work do we need to do on? So this is going to be a free-flowing document as we move through the year. So while it's 15 to 20, we're not locked solid on 18, 19, and 20. So we're going to continue to evolve as we move forward with this process. First, I'd like to ask Chief Denny to come on up and take over the police department, because I'm trying to get this to move forward. It's not moving. Okay, Jim, I'm screwing this thing up. There we go. There we go. I just raised it up. Okay, that was it.
Good evening. Just wanted to take a second before I begin to thank the 77 people who did attend and help us out with that. I don't know that you're going to see that kind of commitment from any of our community. I think it says a lot about this process and how our community feels about us moving forward. The goals that we identified were intentionally broad. They needed to be broad, but they needed to spur action and be manageable and also align themselves with our mission and value statement. The main reason it's important to include all the stakeholders is in most cases, they're going to be the people that are actually delivering the services and actually doing the strategies that we identified in the document. The plan's been reviewed by my command staff. They moved it around and changed some things that were a great help to me, and I thank them for their help as well. And reaching out to the community also allowed us to see things from a different perspective. In law enforcement and public safety in general, we tend to think alike. And sometimes you need normal people to come in and look at what your problems are and give you a better solution than maybe you knew. Our goal number 1, reduce the perception of crime and the fear of crime. And this has been an issue that's been on our radar for years, even when Director Boyd was the chief. The perception of crime and the perception of the township not only drives economic investment, but it also, more importantly, impacts how our citizens live their daily lives. So we need to be proactive and not allow the media to put out a message that doesn't communicate what we want communicated, or is the improper message. Some of the tactics we identified, we've already begun. We appointed a PIO, which is a public information officer, and a social media officer, who will constantly monitor social and electronic media to make sure there's no issues that we need to correct immediately. We also have questions come in quite often, and we keep up on those. So their job is to make sure our message is being pushed out the way we want it to be. Our PIOs set up in-person meetings with all the TV stations in Cincinnati. He and I both attended, and we met with the news directors and the people in charge, and we put some names to faces. It's already paid off for us. Actually, they call us when they need something. If we need something taken care of, we know who to call right away as the decision. We asked them to review our policies and make adjustments, and they really appreciated our proactivity. We've established accounts on all of the social media websites and platforms. And again, we're frequently fielding questions to the extent that we actually had to have one individual stop posting things. He was putting things that he should be calling the police for. But he trusted that we were monitoring that site, and it was an active site that he felt it was comfortable enough to put that information on. So one good benefit of that was that he trusted it. New resident packets are going to be developed. And in those packets, we're not only going to have the crime statistics, but we're also going to show trends in crime. We're going to offer initiatives that the Township and the department offer, and also contact numbers for them. Developing methods to promote employee retention. This is a tremendously important issue for us as we look forward in increasing our professionalism and future succession planning. Many of the identified tactics have been already addressed with the board's help, and we're well on our way towards reaching a lot of those goals. In addition to financial issues, we started addressing career planning with each of the employees, and that's going to become part of their annual performance review. They're going to tell us what their goals are. At the end of the year, we'll review what kind of progress they made, and we'll see what we can do as a police department to help them attain their professional and their personal goals. We're going to start hosting events, including the officers' families. We find that our officers spend about half their lives with their police family, and I think including that other side of their life and getting that part of the culture will benefit everybody. Looking for opportunities for officers to branch out without being promoted or without giving a pay increase. As we do the career planning, we want to identify areas that they're interested in law enforcement, let them branch out, let them get some satisfaction from that part of their job. And it allows them to benefit without increasing their salaries and without having to promote somebody. When we do lose employees, we're going to do exit interviews to find out why that employee decided to leave. Is there something we could have done as an agency to prevent that? And maybe looking at a future person from leaving as well. And just this week, I instituted an award review panel that will take the nominations that our officers put to award officers for their conduct, and they'll make a recommendation just to make sure that we're acknowledging the good things that are occurring as well. Reduce crime by engaging the community. I would be shocked if any police department didn't have reducing crime as one of their goals in their strategic plan. I think what makes us different is the second part, engaging the community. We have a long history of reaching out to our community and not being reactive in traditional policing, but looking for problem solving, different philosophy, and actually getting to the root of the problem and trying to solve that problem to avoid having to come back later on. This is where our code enforcement officer also is in this mix with us, and he's also branching out, not only just writing citations, but finding out the reasons for the code violation, addressing that, and possibly we won't have that issue coming up in the future. Kind of looking at some opportunities to sponsor youth teams, maybe through leagues or tournaments or something like that, where we can introduce our officers to young people in the community without a negative connotation being attached to it. Get those relationships built early. And again, social media plays a huge part here. The goal is to create videos introducing our officers and our initiatives and have those on YouTube channels. We're constantly updating those as well, keeping them fresh for people to come back and look. So they're meeting us and we're reaching out. We're also going to continue our Coffee with the Cop, which has expanded greatly. It now includes Chief Cook and Tim Lang. So when any of our citizens have a question they need answered on a Thursday night, they can come talk to us. If we can't get the answer for them, we'll find the right one for them. Very positive feedback, a lot of questions, a lot of things that they had perceived as a problem that once we talked to them and worked it out, they left very happy. So we'll continue that and increase that as much as we can. Our continued accreditation and requirements that were required for us to attain the With Excellence designation ensures that we're on the right track for professionalism. We will continue for our accreditation every 3 years, but it is an ongoing process that we don't just wait till that third year to jump in and try to fix things up. This is part of our culture and part of what we do, which makes it so easy when they do come on site for us to pass this, being on site, because it's part of what we do and we're not putting on airs for somebody to come in once every 3 years. Our federal partnerships have just done an amazing job establishing our reputation as a quality law enforcement agency in the law enforcement community. We're going to continue those relationships. We're going to look for opportunities to expand and add to them if possible. Encouraging education has always been a big goal for the police department. Director Moyes revisited the tuition reimbursement policy just to make sure that we're providing a fair benefit for officers who want to go back to school and further their education. The current policy, correct me if I'm wrong, is at least a decade old.
It's 15 years old.
Believe it or not, costs have gone up a little bit for college education in that period of time. So we want to make sure we're encouraging them to go back and we're giving them a fair benefit for what they're doing. We identified a need for leadership development within the police and fire departments as well. And about 3 weeks ago, we started the very first Colerain Township Public Safety Leadership Academy. That'll go until next May. It's actually a year-long process where leaders from police and fire will come in, have skills honed in leadership. And this is going to become a mandatory process for anybody wanting a leadership position in the police department. Benchmarking, which we do on a regular basis, it's vitally important to ensuring that we're not only meeting our peer community, but we're exceeding them in those areas. And that's something we're working on right now, and we'll have that to present to you later in the year. Adherence to our high standards of hiring and promotion. We say it all the time, the most important people or decisions you make are who you hire and who you promote. Sometimes in the desire to fill empty positions, there's a bend towards maybe cutting corners a little bit. And every time we've done that, it's turned out negative for us. So requiring that we stay to our standards and demand that everybody we hire that comes into this agency meets our standards goes a long way to making sure we stay professional. Purposeful succession planning. I'm requiring that the sergeants and the lieutenants start identifying talent early and let us start developing that and identify the future leaders early so we can help shape them and mold them in our culture. Shared service partnerships. Obviously, this has been an important goal because of the cutbacks to the local government fund. We learned that we have some really great neighbors and partners surrounding us. We're going to continue to look for any opportunity we can to join forces with them and expand it and cut our costs as much as we can. A couple of examples, Springfield Township, we team with them for traffic investigations. If their traffic officer is on vacation, ours will come in their area and vice versa. Cincinnati has assisted us in criminal investigations, crime scene processing, and right now they're holding a 14-week training event for our K-9. 568 hours at no cost to the township at all. That's thousands of dollars we give somewhere else for that kind of training. And it's quality training on top of that. We've identified sharing training opportunities. We've even hosted training here at the township that has significantly reduced cost to us. By using the downstairs area, we were able to get 2 officers into a polygraph class at a much reduced cost. Increasing diversity, huge issue for us. We've taken significant steps to address this, instituting the mentorship and the scholarship program. With strong support from the board, we were able to get these things moving forward, and we've seen a substantial increase in the diversity of not only the applicants, but of the officers that we are hiring. It's just been fantastic. We've been very successful, and we're very excited about continuing that. In February, we were able to open ties with the region's largest Muslim mosque in Westchester. We found that there is a population in Colerain of Muslims, and that is the mosque that serves their needs. So opening up those lines of communication, not only for a negative event, but for recruiting purposes in the future was important to us. So we made a trip up there and spent quite a few hours with them. We're looking at starting a cadet program. This is for candidates between 18 and 21 years old. They'll be able to volunteer at the police department. They can ride with our officers. It allows us to watch their work ethic and see if they fit into what our goals are. And we find out when we do backgrounds on these guys that between 18 and 21 is when they're engaging in behaviors that eliminate them from the process of being a police officer later. So if we can grab them at 18, keep them focused, we've just now increased our applicant pool later on. So that's an important thing for us as well, coming from both the high schools. One of the main things that we identified, you already addressed, and that's pay disparity. It's important that we stay competitive, but it's also important that we stay financially responsible and continue to do that. Again, we talked about the retention piece and how we're going to branch out and let these officers do more than just traditional policing. And hopefully that's going to allow us to keep them, and maybe the pay isn't as high as they'd like it to be. We're going to constantly review our standards and benefits and look for new ways to reach out to our community. Our Hispanic community is growing, so we're looking for ways to get into those communities and the churches as a method of recruiting for later on. The next steps, We're currently presenting and explaining this plan to our supervisors and the officers. The command staff will prepare action plans for me and timelines. And most importantly, we're going to change our performance review to actually review what we've talked about here. Is there progress? Are there efforts made to meeting our goals? So we confess it's important, so we're going to make sure that our officers and our employees are rated on their ability to make that happen. Thank you.
Any of the comments Chief Denny spoke of, I echo those, especially in thanking the attendees for their time on Saturday during our workshop. Our plan also has been reviewed by my command staff, received the feedback and adjusted this accordingly, and we believe we have a very document there that will take us through the next 5 years and put us in a position that we will be a leader in this region as far as delivery of fire department services. When I was appointed chief, I presented 6 vision statements to the fire department. It's what I saw or what I believed that we needed to work towards as a fire department organization. That was somewhat the basis for the development of our goals for our next 5 years. The first goal being that we'd like to safeguard our community through effective and efficient emergency services delivery and proactive community risk reduction programs that exceeds our customers' expectations. Many may ask, what are community risk reduction programs? Community risk reduction really involves those activities or programs such as code enforcement, plans review, public education, things of that sort. What can we do to proactively reduce the risks in the community before the emergency occurs? And some of the objectives for attaining that goal will be, we will more closely analyze our data and identify trends that will help us guide us through our service deliveries. That's going to be emergency and non-emergency services delivery. We will identify and evaluate internal and existing community risk reduction programs and their relationship to community risk. So what we'll look at is what risk actually exists here within the community and focus our programs towards that. We'll identify external stakeholders and resources and establish their functions in the community risk reduction program. And those are going to be external and internal. Some of these things we're already doing with some of the programs that are in place. The second goal is to cultivate and strengthen relationships with stakeholders that benefit from our services and programs and or directly impact our ability to meet our mission statements. Our objectives here are to effectively enhance communications internally and externally that will achieve greater connectivity with the recipients of our services. What I want to do is produce documents, let people know what our fire department is doing, performance measures, things of those sorts, How are we doing? How do we compare with other fire departments? So I think it's important that those internal and external to the fire department realize and have knowledge of what we're doing. I'd like to develop and maintain subject matter experts to represent Colerain Fire and EMS in all areas of service delivery. Like I said, I want to be at the forefront. I want to be a leader in our services. So whether that's teaching or instructing internally, but also externally in educational institutions, public education venues within the community, I want to be looked at as subject matter experts in these types of venues. Goal number 3 is to develop a professional and diverse workforce that represents and serves our community. Just as the Chief Denny spoke of, I want to ensure that we have a workplace environment that welcomes and supports diversity amongst its employees. I want to support employees in delivering services within our multicultural environment and community. And I want to promote the recruitment of men and women of diverse backgrounds and make sure that our workforce is reflective of the community makeup. Goal number 4 is to develop, support, and empower our workforce to fully realize their leadership potential. What this involves is the development of standards for professional development for all personnel and establish development opportunities for those seeking professional growth. I think it's of great importance that we develop our people within, prepare them for the next level. And like I said, the only way we're going to be able to do that is to make sure we as leaders and as an agency, we do that internally. We've already started doing that with the opportunity to formal education through the Union Institute. I have a plan right now, it's a professional development plan that's being developed so that as they progress through the ranks, they know what is expected of them or what's required in order for them to promote within the agency. Provide the appropriate apparatus, equipment, and facilities needed to meet the increasing demands of the fire department and industry standards. This goal involves completing a comprehensive facilities assessment and implement needed improvements. Facilities, I mean the fire stations, our training centers, things of those like. Enhance the fleet evaluation and improvement of the fleet maintenance operations. We've already done that with the move of Mike Adler to the Public Works Facility, and we'll continue to evaluate our apparatus needs, which I'll speak a little bit later on tonight. They complete a comprehensive equipment assessment and implement needed improvements. Again, we've already begun that with the purchase of new computer tablets for our EMS service reporting. And enhance the use of information technology into departmental functions. So wherever we can improve what we do to kind of improve efficiency and expedite processes through the use of information technology. And lastly, recognize and scale the changing budgetary, fiscal, and regulatory conditions while promoting the long-term fiscal health of the department. By doing so, objectively, we will demonstrate the need and importance of the fire department services by effectively managing resources to ensure the confidence among community stakeholders. Actively pursue grant funding alternatives at the local, state, and federal level for administration, operational training, and whatever capital improvement that we can take advantage of these grant opportunities. Utilize state contracting pricing and purchasing groups where we can. And then lastly, we'd like to prepare for, pursue, and achieve fire department accreditation to demonstrate that the department is committed to continuous improvement, serving the community efficiently, providing a fair and safe work environment for all personnel. During the course of the next 5 years, as we go through the plan, it's my plan to assign those in key leadership positions each one of these goals, develop teams, and we will work towards achievement of these goals over the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board, have any questions? We appreciate the opportunity to present this evening. I just have to commend the chiefs and all their staff because I'm very proud of the final document. We've done several of these when we were at the police department, and it becomes the face of your vision. And it's huge. It was a great opportunity. So when you look at the goals and you look at both organizations, they're relatively intermingled. There's a lot of that we never really understood before, and it really paints a picture that we're not as far apart as some may believe. We're really thinking along the same lines. It has a different color. One's blue and one's red. I just have to applaud the chiefs and everybody within each department that committed to working this thing through, and to get it done this quickly and turn around was really impressive. So I just publicly want to thank the chiefs and their staffs to get this done. So proud of the final document. What we're going to go ahead.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think most would agree public safety is the primary priority of local government, and so, it's of seminal importance to everybody, and you have to know where you're going in order to be successful, and having, an emphasis on strategic planning like this is a must, in my opinion, and I think we've done it very well. I also want to echo the thanks to our community members who participated in the day-long session back in January. That was very enlightening and very valuable, and was instrumental in getting us to this point. So, again, I want to just commend all the time you guys put into this, and I look forward to the next steps.
Timeframe, and each next year, any updates that we provide will obviously be presented to the board, so you're aware as how this document flows and evolves. We'll keep you updated as we move forward. Great work. Thank you.
I think I appreciate more and more, especially over the last few years, our community is becoming more and more proactive instead of reactive. And I think that is something that all of our departments have become very instrumental in making sure that they're going out and identifying, just like with the police department, going out and identifying problems before they're really problems, perhaps. So I think a lot of these things from the training programs and the outreach to the communities, it definitely helps us keep a hold on what's going on in our community so that we don't have things happen like maybe some other communities are having happen right at the moment. So definitely applaud everyone for all their work, especially the community citizens who took time from their private lives to come in and help us out, because, I mean, I love that Mr. Acton and our little friend here who's here every week, who I appreciate seeing smiling every week, they're always here, but as Mr. Acton knows, it's like pulling teeth to get people to come here and to communicate and participate. So the fact that you actually had people take time out of their lives to show up and do this, we definitely really appreciate it. So.
Well, I'll just follow up that. I sent this out to the whole group and told them later on in the year we'll be reaching back out to see who wants to sit back down at the table. I've already got people that have said, count me in, I'll be there. So, it'd be a good thing to have more people than you need, and I'm getting close to that number now, so it just echoes your comments. The community was involved, and they want to come back to the table to help us continue to move forward, so it is exciting.
I'd just like to make a couple comments. I think there's a lot of common theme as you look at these two strategic plans. You're also going to see it as we start to develop the comp plan update on the zoning department over the next year. We talk about the engagement within the community, the outreach efforts, accountability, fiscal accountability, recruitment and retention. We've done a great job of starting to streamline our cost, but we also have to reflect on where we are as an organization and how do you keep good talent and also be fiscally responsible. And I think a lot of the steps that we've taken to address some of those issues as a result of the strategic planning session will set us up for the future. As we get into this next presentation, I know one of the initial goals I had when I was hired was to bifurcate the budget from a capital and operational perspective. And as we look at our fiscal 2022 plan to try to stretch the dollars as far as we can, we cannot overlook the fact that we still have some capital needs to be able to address the accountability and the safety and provide our employees and our community with the resources necessary to be a best in class. We need to be creative in how we address our capital replacement. So I think we have found a way to address some capital needs. Once we go through the presentation, I'll talk a little bit about the financial impact and what the next steps may do or may be as it relates to putting new equipment on the streets. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland. Two pieces of fire apparatus we'll be addressing this evening are engine 25 and ladder 25, assigned to Station 25 on Springdale Road near Seasons Drive. Historically, the response activity from Station 25 has been amongst the busiest in Hamilton County. Over the years, our fleet maintenance personnel have done an excellent job addressing these 20-plus-year-old fire apparatus, their mechanical issues, and the firefighters within the stations have maintained each vehicle in a clean, exercise, and a ready state. In recent years, critical repairs and significant expenses in obtaining replacement parts have indicated that the useful service, technological, and economic life of these two apparatus is nearing their end. Additionally, changes in recognized safety standards and federal mandates and improvements in fire apparatus technology, combined with challenges of replacement parts and equipment, have literally made these vehicles near obsolete. Just a little bit of history. Engine 25, it was manufactured June 1993, Emergency 1 in Ocala, Florida. The model, it's a hush pumper. It received its name because the engine is in the rear. During that period of time, The manufacturer had developed a pumper to afford more quietness within the cab and reduce the noise because of the effects that the engine was taking on firefighters' hearing. So that's where the name Hush Pumper came from. The original purchase cost was $300,000 in 1993, roughly, and presently today that piece of equipment is 29 years of age. Ladder 25, it was manufactured July 1991, also an Emergency One product. It's a 110-foot aerial ladder. Original purchase cost in 1991, 1990 was $500,000. Currently today, it's 22.8 years of age.
Chief, can I ask a question real quick
Yes, sir.
while we're on the subject of the ladder? I recall about 4 or 5 years ago, we purchased a used one from the city of Cincinnati.
Yes, sir. We did.
And how does that fit in?
Please.
How does that fit in or not fit in? And
Well,
how's it being used now?
It's a reserve piece. And my justification at the time to Chief Smith was the frequency at which our primary first response ladder was out of service. We needed something to put in its place. We could not depend upon the forest parks and the green townships. In firefighting, it's critical that that piece of equipment gets to the front of the building and gets in a position tactically that we can best utilize it. If it doesn't arrive early into the incident, then pumpers take up positions. It's hard for us to effectively utilize it at that point. So, like I said, my justification to Chief Smith, we needed something that could get there quicker here in the township, and the only way that we were going to be able to do that was to try to acquire a piece. And then we had the opportunity through some of our relationships that we've had in the past with the Cincinnati, as they were liquidating some of their older equipment. We were able to acquire that piece as a steal, if you will. And it was only because of the relationships that we've had with the past fire chief and some of the people down at their maintenance facility and some of their other representatives that are key in the apparatus.
If you were to replace this one, would you still keep the Cincinnati one as your second one then?
Yes, we
Okay.
would. That's our plan, to always have a spare. But right now, we feel that the 94, the old Cincinnati truck, would be our best served as our reserve unit.
Right. Thank you.
Talk a little bit about life expectancy of a piece of fire apparatus. Fire service literature suggests 10 to 15 years of frontline service for a piece of apparatus, and then 5 years as a reserve piece, and then disposal after 20 years. There are a lot of factors that to take into consider when you're consider life expectancy. Those being the routine workload. We look at mileage and engine hours, the pumping capacity and the operating capability. When we talk about pumping capacity, every year these pieces of equipment are third-party tested. When they go through pump testing, they have to be able to perform at a certain level to maintain the same amount of gallons per minute that it was manufactured at. For instance, engine 25, 50, okay. When it was manufactured, it was supplied with a 1,500 gallon minute pump. Over these past 20 plus years, it's had to maintain that same rating. So we have a third party company come in and test these pieces of equipment to make sure that we're staying where we need to be.
Chief, the bullets that you're taking us through right now on the current slide, is that applicable to both pumpers and ladders, or is it just speaking to one of the apparatus?
I'm talking about the pumpers right now.
Okay.
As far as operating capacity, I'll refer to the aerial ladder. The aerial ladder is also tested where we have a third-party testing company come in and they put the ladder through the strength test on its on the aerial itself. They test the hydraulic system, the supporting structure, the frame. They took a look at that to make sure that there's no rust or any wear and tear of the gear system.
The recommended life is going to be different with a ladder?
It's the same.
It's the same,
15,
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Some of the other factors that affect the life expectancy, the road conditions. Obviously, we've got some deteriorating road conditions. And the prime example is Galbraith Road right now. We saw crack welds on the cab and body of engine 26, the truck that we're currently replacing right now. And a lot of that can be related to the condition of the road surfaces that we have here in the township, especially Galbraith Road there between Colerain and Cheviot Road. Weather conditions can play a factor on the longevity of a piece of equipment, and which I'll address here in a little bit, and the degree of preventative maintenance. We are very, very fortunate to have Mike Gatler on our staff. He's a very talented individual, and he has done an exceptional job in maintaining our fleet in the condition that it currently exists in. We've got many, many extra years out of service out of our fleet just because of his talents and efforts. Talk a little bit about some replacement factors of a piece of equipment. Safety being number one. I believe, or we believe, that there's a greater probability of component failure. We have experienced that in the past. Some of the failures have occurred in the testing phase, but we've also had some failures during emergency operations. But as a piece of equipment ages, you just can't predict those failures and when they're going to occur. As far as some of the safety equipment, our current apparatus, like many safety features required by current day apparatus, for example, anti-lock braking systems, rollover stability, seatbelt monitoring system, and smart aerial system. And what I mean by smart aerial systems, our new aerials actually have electronics or technology built into the system that will not allow the operator to exceed its limitations. So it won't allow it to exceed weight limitations, overextending. Some of them even have sensors that let it know when it's getting close to electrical wires and things like that. So there's a lot of safety features that are built into current apparatus that we don't have in our fleet right now. Secondly, our powertrain components are obsolete. Both pieces of equipment are powered by a Detroit 92 series diesel engine, which actually went off the market during the summer of 1995. They've been replaced by more fuel-efficient, environmentally acceptable engines. Right now, for those 92 series motors or engines, remanufactured parts is the only thing that's available right now. They've been difficult to locate and more expensive. For the ladder truck, we had to replace the power steering system in it. It was difficult in locating the system. Once it was located, it was quite expensive. And, we paid what we needed parts.
Chief, speaking of the environmental, it made me think of the exhaust recovery systems that we've got installed. Everything we buy now would be compatible with that. We wouldn't have to replace the exhaust recovery system that we have.
Well, the environmental portions of the trucks is with all the exhaust systems and all the emissions. They will be compatible, but they won't be able to be ran a longer period of time because the exhaust systems on new vehicles are much more extremely hot versus the older systems.
Perfect, thanks.
The condition of the major components, we talked a little bit about the powertrain, the engine, and the transmission. As I said before, Mike Gatler has done an exceptional job in maintaining our systems, but quite frankly, we are at a point that it's not a matter of if, it's when these components are going to fail.
So we've already seen the degradation and the increased maintenance, where we've reached the cliff and it's starting to go off. In other words,
every year they're going to keep going up.
Yep.
This has been a gradual incline for the past 5 years. A good example, Detroit, Clark Detroit out in Moselle. They had a ladder truck out, actually it was a pumper that had a Series 92 that waited 3 months just for a set of heads, cylinder heads. They have to wait for a good core to come in and remanufacture them and then sell them back. So the parts are just not manufactured anymore to even be sold as new. And they're getting very, very hard to get a hold of.
Within our pump systems, again, over the years in our older pieces of apparatus, we've had to go through some rebuilds, major component replacements, which are expensive. The components within the pump are machined specifically to that pump. We're talking materials made of brass, which are expensive. So we've already been through some major rebuilds and major repairs in the way of our pumps. The aerial ladder and hydraulic systems. Just recently, we had some bolts back out of our aerial ladder, which caused some significant damage. Initially, we were faced with a $20,000 repair, but through Mike's efforts and working with the regional or local representative that repaired the aerial, they were very much able to minimize the cost and allow us to continue the use of the aerial for considerably less than $20,000. Replacement parts availability. As these trucks age and get older, the availability of parts become less and less. The picture there shows the dashboard of ladder 25. The dashboard is falling apart. Mike Adler has fabricated aluminum pieces there to just hold it together so that it can continue to operate it. Now the question is, are the parts even available? If they are, they're going to be a specialty order part. If we got into the replacement of that dashboard, we're looking at, I'm sure, 10 to 15,000, maybe even more, because once you tear it out, there's wiring harnesses and just so many components behind that dashboard that it would just be, from a labor standpoint,
Cost prohibitive.
Expensive to repair that. There's been many revisions in national standards and federal mandates. For example, National Fire Protection Association 1901, which is the standard for automotive fire apparatus. They now require vehicle data recording systems so that we're able to, when a vehicle is involved in some type of accident, we're able to retrieve data to explain what had occurred. Tire pressure monitoring system. I spoke about the smart systems, the aerial system limitations, systems within the aerials, and then the federal EPA, the vehicle exhaust emissions mandates that are put on fire apparatus nowadays. A little bit about the maintenance history of engine 25 and ladder 25. 2005. Engine 25 underwent a complete body and paint refurbishment. I talked a little bit before about what the weather has on the effects the weather has on the apparatus, the bodies, things like that, the road conditions. It was to the point that I have some pictures here. The next slide that shows you the corrosion effects on aluminum. It resulted in a $28,000 body refurbishment. The piece of equipment has gone through a major engine overhaul during the course of its life, and it's also gone through a complete transmission overhaul during the course of its life. Ladder 25 has also gone through a major engine overhaul, power steering system replacement, transmission repairs, aerial ladder and hydraulic system repairs, all major repairs.
The engine overhauls of both of those apparatus were done several years ago. So we're almost to the same point of from when it was new, when we did the repair, to where from there to now.
Yep.
So we're getting to the point where you could run into those major overhauls again.
Spoke of the body work. This is ladder 25 currently as it sits. The top picture, there was an attempt right there to kind of paint over and mask some of the corrosion damage underneath one of the windows. The bottom left is behind the wheel well where the paint has lifted away from the body, and you can see where it's lifted a bubble up above that. And then the right picture is the same effects. It's sort of like a cancer. You just can't patch them. They just keep spreading and spreading and spreading. And the entire truck is this way. We received a quote a few years ago.
It was probably about 6 years ago, $50,000 to to overhaul the whole body of that ladder truck. There's a lot of components that have to be taken off, and it has to strip down completely all the way down to bare aluminum. And there's not too many places that actually do paint aluminum and be successful at it. It takes a lot of prep and a lot of labor intense.
And lastly, changes in the department's mission. From the time that we purchased and designed these pieces of apparatus, our mission has changed. Initially, these trucks were strictly for firefighting, and that's the way they were equipped. But now we've got into water rescue quite extensively, so we've had to redeploy or recompartmentize a lot of the equipment on both pieces of apparatus, and the picture on the right shows how stuffed the compartments are with water rescue equipment. Picture on the right was a later addition of EMS when we started to get more heavily involved in EMS and utilizing the engine companies. We had to be able to carry expanded equipment inventories, cardiac monitors, and things like that. Again, through the talents of Mike Gatler, he was able to fabricate and get these components installed so that we can continue to deliver the services that we're doing today. So as the changes, like I said, in our mission, we had to adjust our equipment inventories and compartmentation to accommodate them. Some recent purchase and planning history. We currently have a 2015 Rosenbauer pumper on order right now, which is a replacement for engine 26, which was a 1990 Hush pumper, similar to engine 25. Right now, that truck is out of service. 6 months ago, roughly? October was taken out of service because we had an engine failure. And it was estimated at $20,000 in order to repair that engine. So we elected to just remove it from service and use one of our reserve pieces of equipment, and it's placed until the arrival of the new piece of apparatus. The new pumper, the cost of $452. It was ordered last year, and we expected to receive it about the middle of next month. And that's a picture of the chassis at the plant. Mike took a trip to the plant last month.
Yep.
Yeah, to do an inspection on the equipment, make sure that it meets our specifications. We'll be making another trip up there a week after next to do a final inspection on the completed piece, just to make sure that it's built exactly the way we want it. If there are any deficiencies, they will address them right there, and then before we accept delivery of it.
Getting back to engine 25, that'll give you a better peace of mind than going into engine 25 that, it's a reputable
Yes, sir.
outfit.
Also, last fall, we applied for a grant, the Assistance to Firefighter Grant through the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $840,000 and trying to anticipate the replacement of ladder 25. And looking through the literature for the grant application, the Department of Homeland Security identified some priorities as far as what type of equipment that they would be supplementing or awarding grants to. So, and the ladder trucks were at the top of their list. So we took advantage of that opportunity, completed the application, and submitted. So at this time, we're in a holding pattern as we wait to hear.
When do you expect to hear?
When? It's hard to say, sir. It can be from now until October or November. So if we're awarded, I think we're responsible for maybe 10% of that. And that $840,000 figure was a estimate. What we had to do was look at other departments that purchased equipment similar to ours. And like I said, it could have been a 2014, 2013 price. So it's just a ballpark figure on what a new ladder would cost. It's my guess that we should stay pretty close to that. Our brand is playing currently for engine 25 and ladder 25. I request of you to consider replace ladder 25 in 2016. I'd like to begin the acquisition process this summer. What that will allow us to do is once we take delivery of the through Engine 26, that'll give us some time to evaluate that piece of equipment, make sure it meets our needs and functions the way that we want it to, and everybody's happy with it. If we're successful with that, which I don't anticipate, I anticipate that we will be, we should be able to utilize the same exact set of specifications using state contract pricing to acquire a replacement for Engine 25. As far as the replacement of ladder 25, I'd like to shoot for 2017. I'd like to begin research on the what kind of equipment is going to best serve the community and the department, and development of specifications to start in 2016 in January, in hopes that we could take delivery sometime in 2017 of the new piece of equipment.
The timing of ladder 25 would also allow us to see whether or not the grant comes through before we commit to the funding. We talked a great deal about our capital plans township-wide at our leadership retreat a few months back, and trying to stay in line with the 2022 vision. We needed to be creative in how we're going to fund capital needs without the outlay of cash. I mean, putting $1.5 million out there for apparatus would not allow us to reach the goal of our 2022 plan. So recognizing that this type of equipment has a life expectancy of 15 to 20 years, it makes sense to me in this low interest rate environment to leverage a capital lease or some sort of a note borrowing option, amortizing the cost of that equipment over the next 15 years so that we can spread that cost into future levies. So we'd like to come back to you maybe as early as the May 12th board meeting and then request permission to proceed with planning and purchasing this equipment. I don't plan on issuing any kind of financing on this until we need to. I want to delay the cost of that. I've talked with Kent Cash, our financial advisor. I've talked to PNC Bank. We have some rates back, so we know we can finance it when the time's right. But as the chief indicated, the planning necessary to move forward with Engine 25 would be a little less planning than ladder 25. But it's going to take a while to get that process moving. And if we're already up against some issues with maintenance and potential rehabbing of engines and transmissions, the sooner we act, the better off we're going to be from a replacement perspective. So we'd like for you to give it some thought, and then we'll circle back next month and request some action.
Would you just explain the one thing that I learned in the process is not complete, you need a car to go buy to come in 6 weeks. Would you just explain what you envision with
Lead time.
the lead time, knowing you have specs in place, how might that help us on an engine replacement? What do you anticipate time frame from getting the specs together and then going out and saying, we're going to do this? Is it 12 months just like an engine, or is it 18 months, or maybe?
The fact that we already have specifications developed for the engine, really all is maybe a month or two to get the process.
Yeah, all we have to do is basically, we like that truck, we sign it over and do another one identical, but it's still going to take 12 months from the time we sign a contract.
And the ladder truck is a different animal. We were just in Indianapolis last week at the Fire Department Instructors Conference, in which that afforded us the opportunity to look and see what's new out there as far as fire apparatus is concerned. We looked at several different manufacturers, different designs as far as aerial apparatus. So from this point, what we'll have to do is decide on what best fits the department, what best fits the community, and start taking a hard look at these pieces of equipment, get some in here, give them a try, test drive them, test operate them, develop set specifications specific to our needs, and that could be up to 6 months in doing that type of work. What I envision is the development of a committee interdepartmentally, getting the input and the feedback from the guys that have to use this piece of equipment on a day in, day out basis, so that I've got buy-in on. I've seen too many fire chiefs really limit the amount of people that have input. A lot of times, it may not even include those that are the end user. But I want to make sure that our people have an opportunity to have input on the piece of equipment they have to use for the next 20 years. And again,
about a year for construction of the airline crest. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for all your work, and Mike, thanks for keeping the equipment going.
Thank you.
I believe that's the conclusion of new business. Is there a need tonight for executive session, Mr. Rowan?
Yes, I need a brief executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees.
I'll make a motion for executive session.
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.